So, greetings everyone. Welcome to this is the fourth session of ArtSAT for this year. It's an online program that's aimed at artists, arts and culture teachers, at community facilitators, at artists and students. And we showcase a film series called South African Arts Past and Present, which introduces us to an understanding of the roots of South African aesthetics and how artists, from visual artists, musicians, writers, have shaped the artistic expression. I am the curator and host of the sessions, Zippo Zengosi Daile. You can call me Zippo. I'm here with my colleagues, some of whom are the producers and directors of the 15th film series. Abdul Kadir Ahmed Sahid and Bridget Thompson. I'm not quite sure if they've logged in yet, but they should be joining us today. As well as on the technical side, I have Yonelisa um, Jacobs is also in the house. As always, before we jump into today's program, we'd like to, give thanks to our previous guests and everybody else that logged in last week when we were screening and discussing a film on the free jazz drama Bra Louis uh, Tebogo Moholo or Bra Tebs. Thanks to Bra Louis for gracing us with his presence and to all the other guests that we had. Tumi Mukhorosi, Grant Jurias, and Tateli Fifitladi, who we heard faintly at the background during a phone conversation with Bra Luis. Thank you very much for honoring Bra Luis, who is our living legend. And everybody else that participated in the session last week, thank you very much. We're not done with music yet. We have two more sessions towards the end of ArtSAT in the next few weeks that focus on music. So we have two other sessions that are planned. One is jazz conversations and a launch of a book called Defining South African Music. That will follow if you are interested in a series about music. Then keep logged into the sessions. But today and the next 3 weeks will be focused on visual arts. Today, we're looking at the work of ceramist artists, and thank you for being here. Sbonelo Tau all the way from KwaZulu-Natal. Thank you for gracing us. We'll be looking at his work today. The following week, we have Brachal Sokaya Ngosi, and the week after, the late Peter Clark, and the week after, we'll be looking at the work of photographer Omar Bacha. How we start usually here is that we would screen the film, and thereafter we will come back and we'll have a little discussion. Thank you so much, Dumam Timkulu, for gracing us, and Lungiso Joe for being here today with us. We'll talk a little bit about also your practice and little points about what Sbonelo touches on. I think he's having a little problem with connection. Um, But let's keep going. Let's watch the film and then come back and talk a little bit about what we do and also about his work. Welcome back. Welcome back, everybody. Um, Thank you all. Thanks, Bonello. Thanks to the filmmakers. This is the part of the sessions where we will allow Sbonelo to. I mean, in previous conversation, he shared with me that his work has evolved now. It's a little bit different to what we've seen in the film. So it would be great to hear a little bit from him after our guests have spoken. Just a little bit on the whole idea of ArtSAT. If you are a teacher or if you know of anyone, a community art facilitator, might benefit from this film and other films that we've shared before, and workbooks that come with the film, please reach out. Please reach out to us. Thanks, Bridget. Please reach out to us. You can write to inquiries at artubuntu.org. to request the film for educational purposes and the workbooks that come with it. We have some incredible writers that have written on the artists that we feature on the series. So if you're interested in that, please write to us. So this part of the session, we would like to invite Duma, Timkulu, and Lungi. So thereafter, we'll speak a little bit to Sbonelo. Hello, Duma. Let's start with you.
Hello, how are you?
Oh, great. Thank you for gracing us with your presence.
Oh, no problem, no problem. It's an honor to be here, to be part of this.
Sure. Can you maybe speak a little bit louder? Maybe raise your voice a little bit because I'm not quite sure if everybody else can hear you properly, but I'm struggling a little bit.
Is it? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you sound good now.
Am I good now?
So, yeah, you sound good.
Okay. Okay, so what approach are we taking? Should I just go and speak about
You can just
Sbonelo's
go.
work or
You can just go, Duma. You're also a ceramic artist, so it'll be interesting to hear from your perspective on your own journey. I mean, Sbonelo also speaks about uh, one other issue that we probably did not face it, but the idea that in a lot of schools that we have, a lot of public schools, black township schools, students who want to go into university to study art, they have to struggle. They have no experience of producing things like portfolios and things like that. I mean, he touched on issues like that, and he also spoke about his own technique. And you can just dive in and share with us what it is that you picked up from the film, and also maybe about a little bit about you.
Okay. Okay, no, thank you for inviting me. First of all, I just want to say that. And should I be on camera? I think I should.
You can switch on your yes, please switch on your camera so people can see you.
Hello, guys. So, my name is Dumam Timkulu. I am now currently based in Pretoria. I went to TUT in 2014 to study fine and applied arts, and I majored in ceramics and glass. In my final year, I was doing in 2017. I actually majored only in ceramics. Um, so yeah, my work is basically centered around the process of ideation, how ideas come about, the sort of like the fermentation of ideas, the forming of the web of um, first starting from a thought and that thought becoming another thought. So that's the basic foundation of my work. And I do add on other elements such as materiality, engaging with the medium of clay, using the vessel as a sort of like a body that holds something, a vessel, something that holds content, moving and oscillating from place to place. But to get into Sbonelo's work, one thing that I found striking is that me and him, well, it's funny now because you mentioned that his work is now has evolved, but I like his way of thinking because I think that he embraces change. You can even hear it in the film that he talks about being against the formal way of working, which is also how I approach my work. So I think that's the first thing that I want to sort of mention. Yeah. I made a few notes here. They're all over the place, so I hope I can get my thoughts in a linear way. But to start off, I think we all know that most art forms or art movements are actually a reaction to what happened before or what came before them. And what I picked up from Sbonelo's work is exactly that. For example, in the West, they have art movements that sort of are a rebellion against the one that came before. For example, Impressionism and Expressionism. This is where Expressionism was not concerned with representing reality. They actually focused more on the images that evoke motion. Now, to bring it back to an African context and particularly to Sponelo's work, what I'm observing is that with the whole practice of ceramics in Africa, where in the beginning it was used to sort of for day-to-day use, right? It was used for utility, and I think someone like Nesta Nala came in and actually redefined the purpose of a vessel, where she engaged with it as something of like a decorative object, or focusing more on the beauty and elegance of the shape of the ceramic piece. And then we go on to Noriyama Basa, who also did the same thing, um, taking the vessel outside of its utility use and making it for beautiful and purposes of admiration. Now, Sbonelo's work is also that, and but in my view, there's something that is much more striking, which is also something that I apply in my work, where he he sort of veers off from the traditional way of working. The first visual proof of that we saw in the film was his pieces are a bit off-centered. You know, they're not like a perfect, what you call profile. The profile is not perfect. So that's the first thing that I noticed. The second thing is the writing and the scribbling of of um, on his pieces. And one of the things that I think is interesting with that is, as his exhibition was titled Songs of the Soil, is that most songs begin with the process of writing. And him writing on the clay, even though for different reasons, is actually, it ties well with the what you call the title of the exhibition. So if I can just go deeper into maybe conceptualizing his work, I would say that the same way the earth imprints itself on the ground, you know, the purification of the clay as it develops on the ground is also in another sense like the making of the song, which is the making of the clay, the material clay. Now, Sbonelo takes that and he uses it to say something else, to 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 to, to encourage himself to not live by a certain idea. So I'm pretty curious to see how his work has evolved. Um, what else? What else did I leave out? I think yeah, I think that's it from my side.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's okay. If something else comes up, if something else, it's prompted somewhere along the line, you still have some time, then we can always get back to you. So,
Okay.
um, Rasha, thank you very much for your presentation. Um, Monello had to jump off. I think there's some thunder and lightning in KZN, so it's affecting his connection. So he missed half of Duva's presentation, but you know, the all these sessions are recorded. They'll be online on YouTube, and so he will get a chance to catch up as well as other people. Um, on if you check on the chat box, there are messages on the chat box. And there's also need to alert you on a form there, in an evaluation form there. So we would really appreciate if everyone in attendance could, you know, during the course of the session or even after, can please fill up that form. Would really like to know how effective the sessions that we are conducting are. Are they worthwhile? Are they not? What else can we do? So we would appreciate if you could give us your feedback. Right now, I would like to, Sbonelo, hi. I would like to go to, before we speak to Sbonelo, I would like to go to another guest, uh, Lungiswa, Lungiswa Joe, who's also here with us. Hi, Lungiswa. Could you unmute yourself and also switch on your camera so everyone can see you?
Can you, I just did that. Can you see?
I
Oh
see.
gosh, my face. Okay. Okay, I'll do the same as you to introduce myself. Ndingulungiswa Joe of Lungi Ceramics. I I started off actually, my background is in fashion, and then I just wanted a different outlet to learn something new with my hands, something I knew nothing about. That's how I came about. The clay just took charge, just took over me, and I didn't want to leave it after that. So now I'm into it. It feels like it has become part of my DNA right now. So what I've loved about Sbonelo's work and a few notes, because I think for me, I did classes, and after classes, I kind of started learning on my own other things. And in the same way, kind of trying to break the barriers and trying to find out what can this material that I'm working with do beyond what I'm hearing people that went to school or they've been doing it for years. So I think it's always interesting when you approach it in that manner because you're starting to find your own language, even with the glazing. You're starting to find what works for you, what works with your intrinsic self. And also the sense that he traced a lineage of skills within home, trying to find out where this art form or skill of working with Izandla comes from. It's so interesting because sometimes it's in our veins, basically. You might not have gone to school to study, or once you start, it feels like there's a memory. It feels like something is coming through you as if there's someone in your lineage that actually knows how to handle this material. Thus, now you're able to do it the same too. I love that we able to trace back skill sets from people that came before us, and the fact that actually he expresses himself with the material. He writes stories. I think that the writing on it like took me. I was like, wow, I love this technique. I love this direction. So yeah, I can't wait to see what else he has. Because already I'm blown away, and then I'm like, okay, if it has transformed and moved, how much more from what I'm seeing from the film. So I really appreciate to be part of this. Yeah, I think I'll cut it there for now.
Cool, thanks.
Hello.
Hi, yeah, no, we're here. Yes,
Oh
we
yeah.
can hear you.
Okay.
Thank you.
The network can be back, so I don't know
Yeah, it
if
comes and goes, but
okay, cool.
we got everything that you said. And yeah,
Thanks, Offer.
I'm excited
Okay,
also about your
cool.
own journey in making ceramics. That's very interesting. Bravusi also makes a nice comment there, and I think he's adding to something that Duma touched on about the shapes of Sbonelo's pots, and he says that um, the elliptical bend of his pots is aligned with the tilt of planets as they revolve around the sun.
Mm.
Very, Very observant. Sbonelo, I'm not quite sure if while you're still here, it would be great to hear from you. Could you unmute yourself and then maybe try and switch on your camera,
That's
please?
good. How do I go about switching my camera on?
Sbonelo?
Um, yes, I don't know where to go, but can you hear me?
I can hear you. You don't know how. Can you switch on the
Okay.
camera? Are you able to?
I don't know where to touch, but okay.
You see at the bottom of the screen, there should be something that says stop or start video.
Okay, yeah, I see it. Okay, cool. I'm in there.
Yes, we learn every day.
Well,
How are you?
I'm surviving. I mean, we artists, we survive. We I mean, we try by all means to survive within this complexity called life. So that's where I'm at the moment. But I'm okay. I'm surviving. I'm good. I'm great. Well, can I introduce myself a little bit?
Yeah, reintroduce yourself.
I firstly I'm known as Sbonelo Tau. I've been through a lot lately. I mean, for the past 3 or 4 years, if I'm not mistaken. But some time I decided to I don't know how it's called, but to reintroduce myself, I don't know, but I've decided no longer to use the name Sbonelo Tau for personal reasons, which I'll explain later. But I usually, within the ceramic cycle, I call myself the song of the soil, or Ihubo Yengabati, which translates to the song of the soil. And it resonates with exactly what I'm doing because I'm a ceramist myself. I do ceramics, I do other art forms, but particularly I do ceramics in particular. So my work has and greetings to other participants as well. And thank you for your contribution towards this meeting. And I hope we will eventually learn from each other and get to a mutually acceptable position. Even though we're not fighting, we just try to learn from each other. My work has evolved so much over the years from the time we recorded this short film because you know, art is a journey. Uh, any discipline that you go through, any life-changing phenomenon that you go through is a journey that tries to take you somewhere, and I've gone through the journey as well as an artist. So what ended up happening is that I got introduced thanks to Abdul Kadir Ahmed Saeed and Bridget Thompson. They introduced me to something very special, even though I was already a person who's very much invested into African art history and indigenous knowledge system. But when I met Abdul, he somehow provoked me to learn even more about myself, my culture, and just about anything that embodies and influences myself as a person. So that's what then started to influence me in such that my work started to change altogether because there's information or knowledge or wisdom that I got from other people outside of my own understanding of what I've already had. So my work went from being personal to, and then it started to speak about other things which are related to my culture, my history, my past, and eventually the culture of the people of the African descendant. And, uh, and, and my work that I'm doing currently is so much influenced by what we others call umazisikazi. Credo Mutua referred to the African calendar as umazisikazi. And Michael Tellinger once said it's Adam's calendar because it was a discovery that there's a white European guy who discovered the calendar. So they decided to name it after that guy. I don't know whether it's Adam or what. They decided to name the calendar Adam's calendar. So my work is now strongly influenced by the calendar, the African calendar that we find in Mpumalanga, as well as the African indigenous knowledge system, because I think that is very much important to us as people, as Africans, to find what was lost and bring it up front for those who are living now to learn from it, so that we could teach them. So my work at the moment is so much involved in such that I no longer rely on Eurocentric education. I use indigenous knowledge system, even though some is not necessarily regarded as something of any substance, because it is, others take it as if you are backwards if you use that knowledge system. But I'm using that now, and I've decided that I am no longer going to use anything that is outside of African context. In my work, in my writing, in referencing other people, the influences, because I've realized that whatever that I learned at a university institution was just a propaganda that was there to me and give an impression that we couldn't write, we couldn't write, we couldn't do anything. If we started to write after the European came to Africa to colonize it, and that was when we only started to write with absolute false. So my work now has shifted from just only speaking about my life, my personal life only, to speaking about things that are of substance about African culture. It's a bit angry here. I don't know if you could still. Can you hear me? Hello?
We can hear you. We can hear you. We can hear
Oh.
Sbonelo.
Okay. I don't know if I'm making any sense. You could stop me if
You're
you want.
making
And okay, you could stop me if you want and throw in some questions. And yeah, because that will help me. That will help the direction of my reply
There's
to
already a
whatever that
question.
has been spoken already.
Sure. There's
Oh.
already a question. No, we like hearing from
Okay,
you.
what's the
There's already a
okay?
question by
So,
Bridget.
okay, what's the question?
I'm trying to find my chat box now here. Bridget, I'd like to ask Sbonelo about how he combines two things which are so clearly part of his work. One is the deeply personal, individual feelings, which it seems he expresses in writing on clay and in the titles of his vessels. The other is his deep commitment to learning from African elders, both in terms of ceramics and in terms of African knowledge system. So how do you combine, these two? I think that was
for me personally. It's not something that it's not that hard. It's very much easy because when I grew up, I was a very I don't know how to express this, but I was a very lonely kind of a person. I don't know whether is it an introvert or what do you call a person who's
Introvert.
self-observed? Yes, who does not like talk, who just keep to himself. I was that kind of a person, and the only thing that gave me some form of expression that allowed me to speak was arts, because when to institution, they provoke you. They make sure that they get you to speak about whatever that you're doing. You cannot just create art for art's sake. I don't do that. I hate that, because everything that we do has to have a meaning. Art is for social commentary. You don't just create something out of nothing. Even those who are called crafters, there is a particular something that influences their work, which is unfair that you find people saying it's craft because it is not thought through. There's no such thing as that. So the writing that I have on some of my work was the way of trying to express what I couldn't speak or what I couldn't express to some of what I called family members in my family, who were so abusive and who were so who had some who neglected me when I needed them the most. So I decided that instead, because I couldn't speak to them, I decided to leave home and just stay by myself. So I decided then to write, to express myself, because it was the only way I could vent out whatever that was frustrating me at that particular time. I even do that. I do that even now, because nothing much has changed, because I'm usually by myself. I hardly find me in a crowd, because I don't know, it just happens. I'm not a kind of a person that you find in huge crowds, in huge gatherings. I find um, I allow myself to be free from other people, and that allows me to think clearly, to speak with myself, with my inner me, with what. So that allows me to express myself without any uh, influence from other people. What was the other question? Hello?
I
I wanted
think
to
not.
ask a question too. Sorry.
Sorry, is there someone who's speaking?
It's me, Ulungi, so I wanted to ask something. Sorry. I
Okay.
wanted to raise my hand, but I
Okay.
couldn't see which.
I think you answered,
Sbonelo,
Bridget.
I wanted to.
So go ahead.
Okay, I wanted to find out, before you start your process of your work, do you actually draw it out? Obviously, there's a concept in your head that first comes out, and then you sit down and draw it out. Because I realized I recently started drawing more first before actually getting into the clay body, and then I realized there's a shift. It happens. There's something different that's happening when I draw first and then go to the clay instead of going to the clay first. So I just wanted to ask that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I work in a totally different way, totally different from others. I don't draw any of my work. I did that when I was still at a university institution, because they emphasize that you draw, because they have this concept of the rise, and therefore you need to acknowledge someone who who influences your work, which means you need to go to a library and research and do all of those sort of things, and then express where you got the information from, which in most cases leads up to European artists, which you usually quote because mostly you find that you don't know any better than those artists that you are introduced to institution of learning. So what I do, I don't draw any of my work. Because once I try to draw it, I will not produce it. The process of drawing for me is almost as equal to actually creating it. I don't draw, I don't sketch. I use what I call symbolic thinking. I don't use logical thinking. I use symbolic thinking. I don't prepare anything. I just allow. This is what we call izambulo or izambulelo, revelation. Whatever that comes to mind at a particular time, I do that now. I do exactly that. Because I don't believe in drawing my work. What's the purpose of drawing my work? Why should I draw it? Because if you look at my work, in the body, right at the body of my work, you don't. There's no. I don't work in I don't do what other ceramists mostly do, and when they're creating ceramic pots, like you find that if there's a particular pattern in one area of the pot, you find it in all four parts of the pot. I could do one thing right in front of me on the surface of the pot, but as I move around, the pattern, the design change altogether because I don't work I don't know how to say this, but I don't work in a traditional ceramic canons. I have deviated. I don't know whether I should say I deviate, but I seem to do that even though I'm not doing that because I'm doing something that is reflective of my intentions. I'm not doing something that I should not be doing something that like Sithole, Nestanala, Ian Garrett, Andrea Galvane, Madoda Fani, and others are doing. They are doing what they are playing their part in their own way. So I should be doing something that comes to me at a particular time, which will be then reflected on my work. And I cannot be thinking like Andy, I cannot be thinking like Clive Sithole, I cannot be thinking like Nestanala. I do whatever that comes to mind. But I make sure that whatever I do with the intention to educate, because my intention with what I'm doing is to educate. That is why I don't draw anything. I'm doing exactly what our fathers in fact did because they wrote on you find writings on some stones, you find symbols in some caves. I do exactly that, but I do it in a different form. I do it on my podcast so that somebody someday would get back to my work and see how this particular person thought and how he was, how the people who lived around him were at that particular time. So that's how I work.
Beautiful. Thank you, Sbonelo. There's Abdul Kada also, who has his hands up, who would like to say something. Abdul, you can unmute yourself and switch on your video, please.
Okay.
Good afternoon to everyone. Good afternoon, Hugo. How are you? First and foremost, I'm glad to hear Sbonelo. And we have to remind one thing. You see, the artist speaks the unspeakable, and he says the unsayable. In order for him, any artistic expression or any art expression is to heal the artist himself. Then, if that expression is useful and will appeal and talk to other people, will express the same process that he has to go through it. I appreciated him, and he is right what he's saying. Why, at the end of the day, the African art Nobody expresses or speaks for the African art unless the African art itself speaks for itself, and it's its own history and its own trauma and its own process. So thank you, Sbonelo, and I hope for you that you go from where you're standing, from your personal, social, continental conscious raising, that you yourself go through it, and your art reflects that. I appreciate that, and I thank you for that. And that is the only one contribution that I would like to tell you. And it's not a simple, straightforward process. It's a difficult process. It's something that you have to go through a catharsis process to cleanse yourself from the notion and knowledge that imparted to you, and to find yourself among those overstructured layer of different knowledge systems that you have to swim due to political, social, and economical condition to find yourself and to make your contribution to the world. That is the only thing that I want to say. And thank you for everyone, and thank you for the important subject matter that you are discussing. Appreciate it. Thank you.
We appreciate you, Abdul Kader. You want to comment there, Sbonelo, or you want to greet Abdul? You're welcome to do that.
Yeah, okay, thank you so much. Thank you, brother. Thank you. In fact, you were the one who provoked me. Abdul, when I met Abdul in 2014 at the Durban Art Gallery, he did something that really pissed me. And he saw it because I had artworks that had titles but without any explanations. So he gave me about an hour, or because he was already recording, but he gave me about just a small amount of time to write meaningful statements about those work. And I had 53 ceramic pots in that gallery. So I was so pissed off, but Amini helped me so much because what he did was he allowed me to now express and write exactly about those particular pots. Yes, they had titles, but the meaning behind those titles, I was the only person who knew what I meant by the title. So it allowed me to start writing. Another thing, which Abdul said back in 2014, was that my pots they don't sit still. They're not, they're a bit wobbly, and they are still are even now. They do sit, but not perfectly like how others do. And there's one reason for that. Like I said previously, that an art is a reflection of the artist's intentions, and that when you are working with clay, you pass on all your spirit and all your everything to that clay, so that it then reflects your intentions, because you cannot see your intentions unless you create, and then the artwork becomes your intentions is shown there. So my life back then was a bit of a struggle because I was in a position of trying to find my mom and my biological father, which I don't know even now, because so I tried by all means. My work are perfectly done, design, painting, whatever else, but they just don't sit still. And I try by all means to get them to sit. They don't. And what Abdul said was that they don't sit because I'm not I'm not settled myself. I'm in a position of I'm still in a process of building my life. I'm not fully settled, and that is true. Like how I remember what I said about that I've decided to use Sbonelo, my first name, but not my last name, because I found out 3 years ago that I'm not a Lutuli. I'm not in any way related to the family. So my mom was dating this Lutuli boyfriend, and this boyfriend decided to take me to his home, where I grew up. but I only found out 3 years ago when I was about to go for operation in the hospital. So that's exactly what happened. So I was fortunate enough. So I don't take what happened to me, the getting sick, going to hospital, getting operated, and going through all of that, because it was supposed to happen so that I can understand who I am and the reasons why I am here. Because I believe that what I'm doing in ceramics, I'm just discharging the purpose of my existence. I'm doing exactly that because I do ceramics. I do painting, but I do mostly ceramics, and I do ceramics only most of my time. I only do ceramics mostly during summer times when it's cold, like around May, June, July. I don't do clay, I do paintings because I can't stand the cold of ceramic. Clay is too cold at the time, so that's what I do. So my way, they don't settle down. They don't, because I'm in a lot of people. Eventually, in times to come, they will sit still. But at the moment, they are a bit wobbly, but they are beautifully created.
Thanks, Sbonelo. They're a reflection of your process. Duma,
Yeah.
can we go back to you? Do you have any thoughts, any questions, since you've heard from Sbonelo, even you, Lungiswa? Do you have anything that you could?
And can I just, I forgot something just a little bit. Sorry to interrupt. Can I say something?
Sbonelo, yeah.
Can I?
Yes. Yes, Sbonelo.
Okay. Remember, I talked about symbolic thinking and symbolic writing. I just want to explain that a little bit. When the European came to Africa, they said we couldn't read, we couldn't write, but we symbolic thinking. We use symbolic writing. We have those symbols in stones in some of the books by Ubabu Credo Mutua and some other scholars, Africans who were doing writings about African indigenous knowledge system. And that is, those writings and those drawings, those paintings are a testimony to exactly to that we could write, but we couldn't write using alphabet, because I think alphabet, if I'm not mistaken, should be came with Italian, if I'm not mistaken. So we could write, but it's just that we couldn't write according to how they wanted us to write. And the thinking, when we talk about symbolic thinking, one example, to us Africans, if you see, let's say I'm from the sea, to Abdul house, or to my house for a matter, maybe I kill the person and then decide, because maybe there were only two of us, and I decided to kill a person, and because nobody saw me doing that, and then I assume that nobody saw me, and you find that on my way home, a fly is, or maybe a number of them. That is a symbol to say you have done something bad. Those, and because it is a symbol of some sort that tries to tell me that I have done something which I shouldn't have done. So that's what that I'm just that is what our forefathers, that's how our forefathers thought. Like you dream, but the dream cannot be, is usually not clear. You have to, it is coded, you have to decode it so that you understand it, because you sometimes you find that you get messages in pictures. You find certain animals in those dreams. You see certain things which you do not understand unless you then investigate, and then you then find out what exactly the ancestors are trying to communicate with you. That is symbolic thinking and symbolic writing. So I'm doing exactly that at the moment. And I've decided to try, yes, I know we live in a country that was we were colonized, and therefore we're given a calendar by the Europeans, colonizers. But the calendar that we're using is not, we're not supposed to be using that calendar because it's only a calendar that is used in the Northern Hemisphere, in Europe and some other the parts of European countries. We should be using a calendar, a Southern African calendar, which then resonates with exactly what is happening here and now.
Thank you. We are almost at the end of our session today. This was an incredible session. I can't imagine how it would have turned out if you were not able to connect, Sbonelo. You're an amazing guest. Bravuso says he's totally with you. That he agrees with everything that you've said. Thanks, Bravusi. Please, guests, everybody, please don't forget to fill in that form at the end of our session, evaluation form, so that we can understand if we are doing anything useful. Duma, would you like to say a word or two? I see you have your hand up before we close today.
Hello, yes. I have a few comments and a question for Ihubo.
Please switch on your camera so we can see you.
Okay. So my first comment is that I like his way of approaching his now current way of working, which is symbolic thinking. And also, I think I mentioned this in the beginning, that he sort of likes exploring. So he also mentioned something about not doing what others are doing, which is something that is, I think, positive. My question to him is, don't you think that there's a danger in not engaging with something that is outside of the African context? I mean, as you mentioned, that you are still finding yourself and you are not fully yourself yet. Do you not think that sort of pigeonholing yourself is gonna be like a hindrance to the things that influence you as an artist? Because I think that, in my view, I think the artist is a representation of anything that is around him, not just what he chooses. I don't think that we can choose to be influenced. I think influences happens to us and we sort of absorb it, and we just, you know, we think about it and we ruminate on it, we decide whether to take it further or not. So that's my question to you. Do you not think that pigeonholing yourself to an African context because you are an African is going to be a handicap to your practice?
Okay, can I respond?
Yes, go straight ahead.
Okay. I don't think that I'm restricting my knowledge in any way, because we are the very first people to bring what we call civilization. Everything that the white people, the European are doing, we taught them, even though they don't acknowledge us for teaching them whatever that they have. Even the calendar that we're using now, they took from us, because previously we used to use stellar calendar and then a lunar calendar, and now we're using a stellar calendar. So whatever that they regard as a civilization, and that is that they decide to dictate or impose to us, is not civilization. There's no such thing as a European civilization. We taught them everything, and then they just repackaged everything, then brought it to us. And there's so many things that we have not yet about here in Africa, but they bring things to us so that we think they have every knowledge, and therefore we should, like it's happening in university institutions where we are forced to reference them. Your Picasso, your Michelangelo, your Leonardo da Vinci, but they don't tell you who taught Leonardo da Vinci, who taught Picasso. Picasso had come to Africa and then decided to paint that painting as a painting of prostitute in because they came to Africa. So those African people which he did not understand. To him, they were ugly, and so he decided to portray those marks and put those marks on the painting that was painting of prostitute. Therefore, I don't think there's anything I could learn outside of Africa. There's so much to learn in Africa, because even some white people say themselves that we have so much to learn here, but we rather learn other people's culture, other people's history. We don't know anything about ourselves. So I think it's about time, and I'm happy that some people are waking up to that reality that we should start being proud of our own before we could try other people's other things from other people's culture. We should start by ourselves, because it's about time we got back to our own. I mean, it's been a while. We were colonized, we couldn't do this, we couldn't do that. We're not allowed to do this. We shouldn't go here, we shouldn't go there. So now we are free. At some point, Abdul said to me when he was in Durban, he said, I was saved by Nelson Mandela. I regarded him as a sellout. I hated the African National Congress. I don't even like it that much now, because there's so much problems. But he said to me, forget Mandela and forgive him, because he did what he had to do. It's your time now to take it even further. And I mean, it's not just myself only. There's so many other African scholars from abroad and from here in Africa who are now speaking the same language that I'm speaking, because there's so much that we need to learn about ourselves. Whether you are a Xhosa, a Pedi, a Tswana, a Tsonga, a Zulu, whatever you are here in Africa, we gave civilization to the world. And it's about time we acknowledge that ourselves before they teach us the propaganda that they teach us. Because we are being taught propaganda in university institutions, starting from primary to high school, that we are nothing and they are great, which is not true. So that is why I'm so invested in indigenous knowledge system, because every time I read about it, I research, I find something amazing, something totally amazing. Like Bridget Thompson asked me to write an essay about history of ceramics in South Africa. To my surprise, I found those clay masks with patterns that I didn't know about this, which therefore means that I'm not. I think I'm not really doing something new. I'm doing something that has been done before. They asked because we're using what we call there's something called archaic record. What I'm doing has been done before, so I'm just receiving what was already there, but I'm just bringing it in this day and age. I don't know if I'm making any sense. I'm trying by all means, though.
Yes. I think you got your answer there, Duma. Time for us to catch up with ourselves. I'm not sure if Lungi, so you have any last words before we say goodbye?
Yes, yes,
Sure.
definitely. Okay, cool. I love listening to Sbonelo. There's this healing spirit to him. Even though, yeah, he's broken, also trying to find his healing through his art form. There's something liberating just listening to him. Like I want to listen more. Like I don't want this to end, because I feel like there's so much we can engage in and unpack. Even when you were saying that your work doesn't sit still, that's not still, and then it comes true. And then it kind of made me realize I always have this thing when I explain my work that sometimes you're buying my prayer while I was making this, I was going through this emotion, probably resonating with it. So I love how the art form Udaga, the earth, just brings that out, and then you're able to format and say, this is where we're at, this is the story we need to tell, this is who I am, and in who I am, there's this unstillness, and it shows in my work. So I was like, I loved being part of this. Thank you so much. Thank you for your work, and thank you for your words and how you think it's needed. That's my last part.
Thank you, babe. And thanks to everybody. These sessions are all recorded and they will be on YouTube. So if you feel you need a little bit of motivation, log on to YouTube and go to the Art and Ubuntu Trust page, and you can watch and listen to this conversation and all the other conversations that we record every Saturday. So if you want to be on the mailing list also, go to the Art and Ubuntu's website, subscribe at the bottom of the page, or drop us a line, inquiries at artubuntu.org, and we will subscribe you. Thank you everybody for this incredible session. Bridget, thanks everyone for such an uplifting session. We hope you will join us again for the rest of the session. Duma asked, can we get links to the music sessions as well? Sure. I'll put you on the mailing list, and then I will send you links to previous sessions and subscribe you to upcoming sessions, right? Next week, we're talking to Charles Sokaya Ngosi. I hope you're going to be here. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Bravusi, for gracing us. We've missed you so much in the past few weeks. Thanks, Abdul, for the film, and Bridget for the film and being here. Thanks, Duma. Thanks, Lungiswa. Don't forget to fill in the forms, ne? Please. Thanks, everybody. Bye.